664, the Road to Human Kindness. I'm Les Winston, and I'm your host. I'm the national spokesperson for the Endow America Network Foundation, which is a group of advisors around the country who are familiar with philanthropic planning, who will do their philanthropic planning for the benefit of the donors, as well as for the benefit of charity. And financial advisors who understand the use of philanthropic devices like Section 664, the 664 trusts, who understand how to use pooled income funds, charitable gift annuities, how those can benefit you by reducing your taxes and allowing you to increase your income. Those are very powerful devices that need to be used over and over again by more Americans every day in order for us to endow America. Create an endowment for yourself first, and then pass that endowment on to your favorite charity when you pass. And that leaves a legacy, and it's something that we all should think about in this era of human kindness. My guest today is Evan Unzelman. Evan is the founder of a new organization which is designed to help advisors, help donors get a better handle on how to use 664, how to use Section 664 trusts. Good morning, Evan.
Good morning. It's great
Yes,
to be
thanks
here.
for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So, listen, I remember when you were with Sterling.
hmm
You've been with them for quite a while, and I know you were that was formed actually in the beginning. What it did mostly was help people who had 664 trusts, who had charitable remainder trusts, actually sell them, or
hmm
be able to get out of them, even though they were irrevocable. How did you get into that? How did you start with that process? What made that come about?
Well, when I joined, they were just really launching the secondary market, so to speak. For it hadn't been something that the company had marketed, but they had done some of the transactions. Were looking to turn that into a growth area. The core of the business is a private foundation management, and so I got lucky. I'm a very entrepreneurial individual. Was looking to get involved sort of at the crossroads of philanthropic and financial planning. Of course, there's some tax and estate planning involved in it as well.
Mhm.
But I wanted something that I could grow. And that's what that part of that company gave me the opportunity to do. And we had a lot of success over the years doing it.
Yeah, I think I used it in a couple of cases where we had folks who had created child remainder trust, and the condition of their finances had changed. And even though they're told that you can't make changes in those things, you can do things to get some the resources back, some of the value back by actually getting value for your income interest. This new organization that you formed, this is different in a way. It includes that, I know, as part of the menu. But tell me a little bit why you created this new entity in order to be able to help people utilize charitable trusts.
Sure. So, I've been lucky enough to work with a range of charitable entities over the years, worked with private foundations, donor advised funds, charitable lead trusts, charitable remainder trusts. And the charitable remainder trust, the CRT, was always where my passion was and is. And what I wanted to do is create a company that it's all we do is charitable remainder trust planning. We want to be seen as a resource for advisors, financial advisors, tax advisors, legal advisors on all facets of charitable remainder trusts. And you do something for 20 years, you kind of have a way that you want to do it, and it was the right time, and we're doing it the way that we want to here, and it's been a busy but exciting time, just getting everything up and rolling and starting to get out in front of our market, which is advisors, tax, legal, financial advisors, and the response has been fantastic, and we're really excited about it. So
I'm glad to
CRTs are
hear
all we
that.
do. We want to be that first call when it comes to CRT planning. Sorry, go ahead.
Good. No, I'm glad to hear that you're doing well, and I'm glad to hear that our whole objective here with Endow American Network Foundation is to get the number 664 into the common lexicon, just the way we have 401k or 529. You ask somebody, well, what's a 401? Why is a four? You know what a 401k is? Oh yeah, that's my employer is going to give me a retirement and say blah blah blah. I said, what is a 401k? And they say, I have no idea, but it's just it's a section of the tax code, just like 664 is. So the problem is that right now, I guess there's 113, 120,000, something like that, charitable remainder trust in the country.
It's down a little bit. It's a little under 100,000 now.
Now it's under 100,000. So it's not growing, it's getting smaller, which is
Well, it's
contrary to
growing
what
recently. So it really took a dive there 2012, particularly through the low interest rate environment. Lead trusts were very popular, but we've seen it pick up, I would say 2018, 2019 through where we are today. So that is very encouraging. It was down, but now I think they're coming back into favor.
Well, the important thing that I want to you that are listening to this that want to know what is the main reason why we're talking about 664, and if you have a 664, what do you do with it? How do you make it? How do you use it? It's like we're introducing a new vehicle, even though it's been around since 1969. It's relatively new in terms of the number of people that are using it. What do you see the potential? Do you think that the potential is there for this number to that 90 some odd whatever it is now to grow to millions and more?
Yeah, you said it earlier. Could not agree more that it's an underutilized vehicle. And I love the 664 versus charitable CRT, charitable remainder trust. And the reason for that is over the years, we've looked at almost 9,000 of these trusts over the years, and we see sort of the good, the bad, and the ugly. And what we realized was the 664 contains more flexibility than is implemented in most CRTs. And what I mean by that is there's sort of this knee jerk that, okay, we're going to set up a CRT. It's for husband and wife, their joint lifetimes. And we don't think about, well, why not put the kids on? Well, the kids are too young. Well, we can put them on for a successor term. There's a type of a 664 trust, a CRT called a NIMCRUT, that can be a very effective planning vehicle when combined with a partnership or an LLC. When a client wants to sell appreciated property, oftentimes diversify a concentrated position like real estate or closely held stock, they don't want immediate income. They want to put that trust into deferral for some time. That could be a very effective vehicle for that client. So there's a lot of clients out there who have assets. There's a lot of appreciated property out there and clients who want to dispose of it, but they don't want to pay the tax. And they're not a candidate for just full, let's just give it all to charity like we could do with a donor advised fund or a foundation or a direct gift. And the CRT 664 represents a good middle road for these clients. It's still going to maximize their own value while benefiting charity later on.
Well, that's there are so many flavors that and what I found a lot of, I had a radio show called Funny Money for many years, and the idea of funny money was came from the game of Monopoly, where I was playing Monopoly with my nephew, and the object of the game of Monopoly, travel on the board, you bankrupt the other player, he has all the money. So I said to him, what are you going to do with that money? He said, what can I do with it, Uncle Les? I said, you got to put it back in the box. He said, why is that? I said, because you can't spend it on anything. And then I thought about it, and I said, suppose I gave you 25 cents of real money for every dollar of that funny money, how much would you give me? He says, I give it all to you, which is what everybody always said, because it's like getting something for nothing. But funny money is what people take for granted in the tax that they pay. And they don't know that they can convert that tax dollar into income dollars by utilizing a device like a 664. So the idea was to tell people about the charitable trust. So that went on for about 10 years, that show. And I got a call one day from somebody who said, I set up this charitable trust. Now I got a problem. I don't know what, the guy did wrong, blah, blah, blah. And it was the idea that he said, I want a charitable trust. So the lawyer set up a charitable remainder annuity trust, the simplest trust he could find and the simplest device that was available without giving it that much design attention. And he created something that was good, but it wasn't as good as it could have been. And he used tax-free his tax-free bonds to fund it, which had a capital gain. And he didn't realize that when he takes that money out initially, it's going to be taxed as capital gain, not tax-free income. And so it's the little things like that, those nuances in the planning process and in the knowledge of how to use these that are very important. And what I see in your organization is the ability for the advisory community to have a place to go to get some expert help with creating 664 devices, and we want their clients to ask them about it. We want people to ask their advisors about 664, and then for them to go to the resource that can help them do that. My question to you is, what is the capacity that you have for administration of these 664 trusts? Suppose we created 1 million trusts. How is it administered?
We administer. Now I'll say this, where we really specialize is the complex administration. So in some cases we can work, it's certainly early on with the client's existing advisory team. If we've got just a standard CRT, you mentioned a CRT, a charitable remainder annuity trust earlier, where they're going to be fine doing it on their own, but we'll scale up with the marketplace. So there's really no, if there's a million CRTs for us to administer, we will administer 1 million CRTs and be happy about it. So yeah,
no, that's
no complaints there.
Yeah, my concern is I don't want to overwhelm. There are some, administration does take time. You have to produce a tax return. You have to produce the K1s. You have to determine how much the distributions are. There's a lot of things that go into administering them. You're not just formulating them, you're administering them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're helping. And so you help design as well, which is important.
Yeah.
And just let me point out something to you, the listener. What you're hearing all different acronyms: NIMCRUT, CRUTs, CRATs, CLATs, CLUTs. They're all over the place, but they're all 664s. They're all 664s. They're all under that section of the tax code. So I want you to realize that you have the potential of doing amazing things with your assets to increase them or enhance them and avoid taxation using these devices. And Evan Unzelman, my guest, is a resource that you need to let your advisors know exists, even from the standpoint of them being able to utilize it. So take me through a process. You know what, we're going to take a short commercial break. We're going to be right back. I want to continue our conversation, but we're going to take a brief break and we're going to talk charity for a little bit. Be right back.
Hey folks, it's Charity here. 664 equals endowment squared. That means income for you, benefits for all. It's a way to help make the world a better place. Peace through prosperity, prosperity through peace. Join us at socialsecurity.org. You ever just want to tune out the world and relax? Then you've come to the right place. At Route664.org, we've got great music that will keep you entertained for hours and uplifting conversation that will make you feel good about yourself and the world. So come on in and take a load off. We won't judge here. Route664.org.
And we're back. My guest is Evan Unzelman, and Evan is taken on mantle of one of the things that we're very, very, very important to us in our whole organization, and that is 664, the care and the creation, the care, and the success of 664s. We were talking before the break that there's a lot of different varieties. There are a lot of different ways of utilizing them. Give me a success story, without any names, but give me an example of how a 664 helped someone who had a piece of real estate, for example, and wanted to change the nature of the investment.
Sure. So as soon as you said success story, that's the first one that popped in my mind, was one that we just implemented and involved real estate. This was an industrial building. It was worth about $10 million. And this client, he's making considerable changes in his life and wanted to sell the building, but did not want to pay the capital gains tax. And so what he did, he's divorced, has two children, and he thinks he wants to take care of the kids down the road, not sure about it, thinks he may want some income, not sure about it. And so for this client, he doesn't want to give it all away to charity, but does not want to pay. He's in a high tax state. And so in this case is where we implemented what we talked about earlier. It's this combination of the 664 trust with a partnership that allows for the ability to regulate the cash flows for the client. So when the numbers get larger, in many cases, the client wants to diversify. They want to defer income, but they think they want it, but it's like they want the best of both worlds. And that
they want to be able to get it. I think they want to be able to get it if they need it.
Exactly.
But they need it right now.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes.
They don't want to pay any more tax than they need to, and they don't know what's the point. Right.
Yep. So that particular, and he's looking at 1031s and all these different types of so it wasn't just this is the direction we're going to go. The CPA did a very deep dive and probably looked at 5 or 6 options, and he ended up going with the 664, which it's early, of course, but I think it's going to be a great fit for him. It's giving his investment advisor loves it because this very likely will just grow tax-free for some period of time. So moving that into a 664 where we don't have the tax drag, that allows that investment advisor to grow everything. We've got a tax-free compounding that's occurring in this deferral stage, and it will grow up. And the client he's retaining the ability. There's a successor term on the trust where he may end up letting it go to his kids when he's gone. He may say, nope, I'm going to revoke their interest and everything's going to go to charity. He may take something out of it later on. He views it as a safety net, but it may all go to charity. So,
when you're saying a safety net, because income is important.
Sure.
You can't eat. There are some assets you can't eat, but you have to have income. Mm-hmm. So when you're designing something like that, and you're suggesting to them that they can defer taking the income and then growing the asset so that it produces more income at a later date, is that the security feature? Is that part of the? I'm not.
Yeah, but it's all. Yes,
word.
It is.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So it's the knowing that. So in this type of a 664 trust, there's a deficiency account. It's like this IOU count that's growing up as the advisor is growing those assets every year. It's growing this IOU account for this client that is available at any point in time. They just have to distribute cash from the partnership to the 664. So he's got this ability at any time to access, once this grows up, a very large amount of deferred income, which most, of course, they're going to manage it for capital gain. Mostly would be capital gain. He doesn't know if he'll ever want or need that. He may get out 15 years and say, hey, this is going to go to the kids and I'm fine with that. Or let's let this go to charity. But he may find himself in a situation where, to your point, he wants to turn some income on and take an income stream for a few years, or he's got the ability to take a large amount out of the trust because of that growing deficiency account. So it's really maximizing, and that's what you mentioned earlier with what we really feel like with 664, the flexibility that's available is not utilized enough. And
the thing that I think most people don't understand is they can be their own trustee, which is the key to this, right? That even though they've given away ownership, they maintain control. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. So in this, the client is the trustee. I think it's his CPA is the manager of the partnership to regulate the cash flows. But yeah, that's we go back to the secondary planning, the ability to because a lot of clients, it's that inertia, right? And this is with any type of charitable entity, whether it's a foundation, a DAF, a CRT, it's that inertia of, I'm giving this up, and the ability for the advisor to explain to the client, look, this should work great. Everything looks fine, but life happens. We don't know what lies ahead. So if we find ourselves in a position later on where we want to get out of the trust, we want to roll it into a new trust for the grandkids, we want to give it all to charity, there's all this flexibility that exists because the client's interest in the trust is a capital asset.
So 664 needs to be on everybody's mind when the time comes for it to be used, but they can have a 664 in existence, right?
Sure.
They can set one up early. Let me talk to you a little bit about the younger ages. I know that most people think that these are only for older citizens of the United States, but that's not the case. It is also available to young people. How?
That is correct. And so, well, there's two. Well, as long as anyone's alive, the person has to be living when the trust is formed. They can be an income beneficiary of a CRT or a 664 trust. What the IRS has implemented, though, and this is probably 25 years ago, something called the 10% remainder test. And what that means is, based on how long they think the income beneficiaries are going to live, at least 10% on a present value basis that goes into the trust. If I put $1 million in the trust, the IRS needs to project that at least 100,000 on a present value basis is going to go to charity. So what that prevents is me naming my 5 and 7-year-old kids as the income beneficiaries of lifetime income beneficiaries of, ever name them as beneficiaries of a term CRT. So even when the income beneficiaries, the desired income beneficiaries, are too young, we have the term CRT 664 trust option. So the other thing, and so we talked about new trusts, right? So there's some transparency that we get into the marketplace. We have seen there's two pockets where there's many these new 664 trusts that I mentioned, that 2018, 2019, we started to see them come back again. Silicon Valley and New York and Brooklyn, Manhattan, but there's a lot. So a lot of this young tech, Bitcoin is another one, the cryptos, as we've heard about that. There's, they're in their 30s. And that with the 70 right now, the IRS uses their own discount rate. It's called the 75/20 rate, or the AFR, the applicable federal rate, to make sure the trust passes that 10% remainder test. Well, right now, I think in October, it's up to maybe 5.4%. So that gives us the ability to put much younger income beneficiaries on as lifetime income beneficiaries, versus when it was back in, below 1%, that's where the lead trust, that's where the inverse of the CRT was popular. So we've seen, out of these new trusts, 30s, 40s, 50s, which has been encouraging. And I think not only are people realizing it, but the advisors are too. That in many cases it's either too young, as you mentioned. This is for old people. And even if you've got a couple with the CRT and we can't pass with them both, we'll set up two, and sometimes we can pass it that way. So
well, the effect is
we've seen it getting younger.
Yeah, the effect of that, the younger people, is that their tax deduction is reduced, and of course that depends on what the objective of the planning is. Some people want a big tax deductions, and some people just want to avoid the tax. So they can avoid the tax and maybe not get a large tax deduction, but they can avoid the tax. That's important because the asset is worth more if they don't have to pay the tax, especially if they live in California. So when you're a high tax
yeah, that's
state.
Right.
Yeah. So
in most cases, I would say it's the deferral of the deferral of the capital gain on the appreciated property that's driving the creation of CRTs. That's one of the first things we'll do when an advisor is talking to us. Well, I think I've got a candidate here for 664. What are questions that I should be asking this client? And it's if we have a client that needs the income, if their goal is tax deduction but they need the income, well, I can get you a much bigger tax deduction if you just give it to charity, just outright. But then they don't have the income. So it's balancing those two objectives where the 664 can make a lot of sense for these clients.
My guest is Evan Unzelman, and Evan is a I would say that a qualified advisor in this area with regard to creating 664, using them, knowing how to work with them, how to care for them, how to administer them. That's a very important part. You have to report to the Internal Revenue Service every year what they're doing, and that requires administration. But it's not any different than a 401k, ladies and gentlemen. 401ks are administered, IRAs are administered, there's custodians with all these things. And the reason that they're there is to build in safety so the government knows what you're doing properly. Evan, I want to thank you very much for joining us today on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. We'll have information about how folks can get in touch with you on the video screens so they can get an idea of where you are and how people can reach out to you. I'm really, really happy to know that there's another resource out there that I can use as well, and that we can use as Endow America Network Foundation. We're looking forward to working with you and building more 664s. Thank you, Evan.
My pleasure.
And we'll be with you again next week, same time, same station, right here on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. Have a great week.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, headaches, anxiety, depression, sleep disorders, hormone imbalances, ADHD, or any other condition that's disrupting your quality of life? With the Body Chem program, you can feel better than you have in years. We'll test you for nutritional and chemical imbalances and design a specific dietary plan for your individual needs. Everything we do is natural, and you won't be subjected to invasive procedures and harsh pharmaceuticals. When you're healthy, you're happy. Why wait? Call today.
We've got best-selling authors.
You are going to start to uncover all the layers that are covering your genius.
And some of the world's top leadership experts.
We have structured a mastermind program that is very unusual and it is very powerful.
Robin Sharma at noon.
Your creativity will soar, your productivity will be epic, your impact will be legendary. You will be the best in the business, and you will not only achieve remarkable things, but you're gonna feel sunsets. You'll feel a connection to people. You'll feel for what's going on in the world, and that will make you a world changer in your own unique way.
Robin Sharma at noon at 4 p.m.
It's a
Blaine Bartlett.
exploration of what it takes to be a highly effective leader in today's fast-changing environment.
Best-selling author, executive, and leadership coach.
And if you've been liking what you've been listening to on these Soul of Business podcasts, how does one become a leader that can keep connection to the soul of business?
Blaine Bartlett at 4 p.m.
Look forward to seeing you there.
At Route664.org. This is Route 664 Radio.
Hey folks, it's Charity here. It's time for our weekly powwow. Have you had enough? Have you had enough of all the fighting, the bickering? Really? Really? No, really. It's time to come together, folks, and we can do that with the power of love. That's E squared. Remember Einstein? He talked a lot about power of energy and E squared. Forget about the math part. Bottom line, everything is love. E squared equals energy. It's love, the biggest force in the entire universe. And on planet Earth, it can mean lots of things. For now, let's go with endowment. With the tax code 664 that Congress actually put together in 1969, it's an alternative to build your retirement income and income for your favorite charity. We can do it ourselves. No need to rely on the government. Put on your big girl and big boy pants. Endow yourself, endow your community on the road to human kindness. And that's the power of love. Squared!